Mond Martin from Well Withal,
What's going on, brother?
who so Moose, we I don't know, when did we connect? Like a couple months ago or something like that?
Yeah.
And in like 60 seconds, Damon was like, "Oh, let me tell you a quick reason as to why I started Well Withal, which is like a supplement, vitamins, energy drink, all that stuff company." And in 60 seconds, I was like, "Jesus Christ, slow down with your story because it is ridiculously interesting." From like how you grew up to what you did in your like working in politics to what made you start this company. So let's go back. Actually, before we even start, why should people watch this? Like, what do you want people to learn from this podcast?
Oh man, I think there's so many things that we're going to delve into. One, that capitalism can actually be a force of good. People need help, and there's a wide variety of ways to help. And I'm showing that using your talents can just help everybody you possibly can each day. But also just like the stories of resilience, like we all live through pain and disappointment, and nobody's spared
Yeah.
from those things. And instead of those, being weights on your life, they can be lessons.
Mm-hmm. Especially in this day and age, it's a lot of people, they live by kind of like social media. So they're like, they see other people's highlights.
Yeah.
And they're like, I just want to get to that. And it's like, you can't go from 0 to 10. You got to go 0, 1, 2, 3, fall back to 1, 1, 2, fall back to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, fall back to 2. That's just how life is. That way, when stuff happens, you can say, hey, you know what? Okay, I've been here before, and I'm not lost. I know that I can come back from this.
1,000%. And I would say a third thing is that, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. The people that you have around you every day make your life.
Yeah.
In either direction.
Right. All right. So where did you grow up?
Was born in Columbus, Ohio. My parents got a divorce, and my mom wanted, sort of a brighter future, so moved us to Inglewood, California. It happened to be during the height of the crack epidemic. Mm-hmm. She ended up remarrying to someone who ended up being a heroin addict. So I saw things as a kid that kids should never see, but lived in a wide variety of places. My dad moved to rural North Carolina, where he was from, and I would visit him every summer. And right before my freshman year in high school, I was slated to go to Inglewood High. And I said to him, like, I'm going to die if I go there. And so he said, come live with me. So I moved into a single wide trailer in rural North Carolina, traded the gangs for Confederate flags, but I lived.
That is, what a difference. You're like in the city, and then you're like in the sticks.
Yeah. No, it was a big adjustment. But again, as we talked about, living in all of those different environments also gave me an ability to relate to so many different types of people.
Yeah.
Because I've lived in the heart of a city. I've lived in the projects. I've lived in a trailer. I've lived in all these different kinds of environments, and I've met so many kinds of people, and have learned how to find the humanity in so many different types of people. Because on the surface, like, you meet somebody and you're like, this person has this kind of accent, or this person has on these kind of clothes, so they must be like this. But oftentimes that's not the case.
Yeah. So now you're in rural North Carolina.
Yeah.
Going to high school. Were you a good student, or?
Yeah. It's interesting. I was always a hard worker. Mm-hmm. What I didn't realize until actually my child was being tested for dyslexia, that I also had dyslexia. Like, the doctor was going through, like, well, here are the things that, and this is why. And I was like, wait, I have all of those same symptoms. So what I didn't realize, I never was able to spell well. I read incredibly slow. But I had this fifth grade teacher. I went to this school called Inglewood High, or Inglewood Christian School. And I had this fifth grade teacher, Miss Johns, who tutored me on the weekends for free, like, really invested in my life. And she said to me one day, she was like, you can't spell, you read slow, but you're gifted at math. and she gave me confidence in my academic abilities, and that just gave me a whole like I used to be a class clown.
Yeah.
I was generally funny and quite handsome, and the ladies love me. But so I would compensate for my slow reading.
Yeah.
But then when Miss Johns really invested in my life, I realized that I had a gift in other areas, and really embraced myself as a student, and began to perform. So by the time I got to high school,
Yeah.
I was a very good student.
So you always had in your head that you wanted to go to college and like after high school?
Yeah, my mother, who didn't have the opportunity to go to college and wanted to, particularly during the time in which she grew up, there wasn't, certainly in her family and generally in society, like this push for women to succeed and go to college, and so she never felt that, but wanted that desperately for herself. Didn't have it, but always ingrained in me that was the next thing that I was going to do, that I was going to go to college. And so I just always had that in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I hung out with my older cousin, Mo, who was 5 years older than me, particularly when I got to North Carolina, he got into Duke.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was, in high school, and he invited me to come and visit him there. And I saw what college was and could be. And it was very clear that that's where I needed to be after high school.
Yeah. See, I didn't have that when I was younger. Like now with my kids, I have my son already graduated and my daughter, I have two daughters in college right now. And visiting with them, I'm like, damn, if I knew about this when I was younger, I might have gone to college. But I didn't have anybody who was older. I had one cousin who went to Cornell, but he was in Puerto Rico. So like we didn't like connect like that.
Right.
And then my sister went to college, but at the time I was like half a juvenile delinquent, so I really didn't care. I literally thought college was where you went to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I was like, I don't want to do those things.
Well, and I just had this view of what college was, and then I got there and I hung out with my cousin's friends, and there were all these brilliant, black folks, and particularly like I went to a party.
Yeah.
And there was like house music all night long, and I fell in love twice
Yeah.
when I was there at that party, and I just realized like there was something that was just very different than what I had imagined, and it just gave me an aspiration even further to be there.
Yeah. And this is when you were in high school. Like, how old?
I think I was a sophomore.
Oh, you were a sophomore.
And I was pretending like I was in college at the time. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
That's right.
So you finish high school, and where did you end up going to college?
So I went to UNC Charlotte, and that's really where my life changed.
Mm-hmm.
At UNC Charlotte, I met this extraordinary group of people. 25% of the population at UNC Charlotte was African American. And so I found like it was like the first time where I sort of found my tribe. Like there was all these folks who were, intellectual and dressed well, but wanted to achieve in life. And I got great mentorship. I became student body president as a sophomore, and I just had people really invest in who I was as a human and as a leader, and just got all these different experiences. Joined Alpha Phi Alpha, and just had like this brotherhood of folks. And then I met a former student body president my senior year. We got introduced because we were both, former student body presidents, and she happened to be working at the White House at the time. Mm-hmm. And, I said to her, like, I already have a job, set up after graduation at an accounting firm. But I was wondering if I could do something at the White House, for the summer. And she was like, sure, kid, send me your resume, and ended up getting me into the White House internship program. And I was an accounting major. Most people were political science majors. So I was building spreadsheets for Al Gore's finance manager. And they were like, this kid's good. And so I got an opportunity to, interview for a full-time position working for the White House Chief of Staff. And that was just a life-changing moment.
What year was this?
So this was in 97.
Okay,
and I was working in the old executive office building, which is like the big building next to the White House.
Yeah.
And I walk over to the West Wing, for the first time. Walk past the Marine, go through the lobby, and the White House chief of staff is sitting at his desk, and he's like, Damon, I'm super busy. I've heard a ton about you. I'm very impressed. Come work for me and I'll change your life. And I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Hell yeah. That's great. So this is Bill Clinton. You said 97.
Yeah.
What, from watching The West Wing, I'm not going to lie. From watching The West Wing, the chief of staff is like the guy or girl, is like the person.
Chief of staff runs
Yes.
the White House.
Yeah, yeah. And you were their assistant?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What type of stuff did you Is this Monica Lewinsky time?
Oh my God.
What did you say?
Is this like around Monica Lewinsky time?
So this is when most people don't realize all of the stuff happened back in 95. The scandal broke out during that period of time in the 97, 98 period of time. So I lived through that. I learned a lot about crisis management.
Yeah, yeah.
It was incredible to see, because that wasn't the only thing going on, right? Like the country still had to be run. And so I learned a lot about like how all of these, incredible things had to take place, and in what order, and what kind of people that you need around in order to make great things happen. When we balanced a budget, during that period of time. I mean, it was an extraordinary period of time to really learn.
You're balancing like the budget for the country?
That's what the White House and Congress were all working on during that period of time. We had a balanced budget for. That was the last time that's happened.
So you're in the big meetings.
It was crazy. Like I was just like a junior person. Like I'm making Xerox copies. I'm shuttling people around. I'm taking directives. But I was like Hamilton being in the room.
Yeah.
I was in the room, and so as a young person, my first job, I was with the White House chief of staff, the vice president, the secretary of treasury, the secretary of state. And I'm able to just sit in those meetings, take notes, learn and listen. And that shaped me, as a leader, just being around such incredible people as my very first job.
Right. That's crazy. Did you at any point consider politics?
When I first walked into that job, having been a student body president, I thought about like, wow, what would politics, be like to run for office, et cetera. I will admit, like during that period of time, because of all the craziness that was happening, the contentiousness between the parties, which seemed extreme then, and it's gotten more extreme now. I saw people's lives destroyed over the slightest political gain. It became very clear to me. I also saw great people who weren't politicians make a significant difference in society, and that's the route that I decided to go.
There's a lot of people I feel who don't get the shine, who are like that, who are like they're in politics because they actually want to help people. People, not Republicans, not Democrats or whatever, but just the way the political climate. I don't even remember. See, back then I was, so how old were you at this time?
I was like 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah, same with me. And I wasn't necessarily, like I knew Bill Clinton, I knew Al Gore, whatever, but I knew, the Monica Lewinsky scandal. I knew the World Trade, the first one, not the, when they blew up the basement.
2001.
No.
Oh,
in
like
90.
Yeah.
That one. Blow up like the World Trade. Biggie talked about it in his song. Like those things, but I didn't know that there was even like political strife really between the parties because I wasn't paying. I feel like that's something like when you get older, all of a sudden you start paying attention more. But so it was ugly even back then.
It was, but I will say that there also was a view that things had to get done, right? Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of great humans, as there still are, right? That were interested in, regardless of the differences, that the American people deserved the investment and the resources that were needed. And so it was an interesting time to just observe.
How long were you there for?
It was about a year and a half.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So not a whole bunch of time, but enough for you to
enough to learn. And so I'll tell you one incredible thing that happened. So I'm in the job for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And I was living on my fraternity brother's couch in Alexandria, Virginia, because I had no money. I'm driving in, every day in this 1990 Geo Prism with tinted windows and a booming system, and my car breaks down. And so now I have no money and I have no way to get to work. And my boss, Erskine, the White House Chief of Staff, he says, "Hey, I heard about your car. I'm living in this, gigantic house in Georgetown by myself. Just come live with me." And I was like, "Oh, no. Yes." And so I move in with him, right? And that changes our relationship because we're riding into work every day. We're talking,
Yeah.
occasionally on the weekends we catch a football game on TV or we have dinner, and we found this humanity, in each other. This white millionaire, this poor black kid. Like we're talking and we're finding all these commonalities that we shared in life, and he becomes like my second father. Like to this day,
Wow.
he's like my second father, and he just invested so much in me, which is why I ended up being in some of those meetings that I probably shouldn't have, been in, like just
Yeah.
sitting in the back taking notes. But he allowed me to observe and understand like how power was truly used,
Yeah.
and that just made an extraordinary, impact on my life.
That had to be, even though it was a year and a half, it had to be, I mean, you really don't have hours, right? It's just like you get there as early as possible and you stay until.
Oh, bro, like we worked 7 days a week. I mean, there
Yeah.
were 20-hour days at times. But it was a nonstop process, and it also developed sort of one of these philosophical views about hard work, for me, because that shaped everything that I did after. Everything I did after has been easy.
Yeah.
Because of just the pure amount of hours. I wasn't doing rocket science,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to be there. I had to be on top of what was going on. I had to understand. I had to be thoughtful. And there was no no. Yeah, if the White House Chief of Staff wanted something, like
Yeah.
you figured it out. And too often, like I see people now, we're just like, well, we can't do that. There's a no. They said no. There is no no. Like there's a way to run through the wall, to go around it, to go over it, to figure out how to get things done. And so I learned some really valuable lessons that I was able to apply to the investment world and everything else that I did after that.
Yeah. So what made you decide to leave?
Exhaustion, having lived through all the things that were going on at the time. I was also engaged to my college sweetheart. So it was a good timing. I wanted to eventually go to business school. That's something that Erskine had done, study for the GMAT, while I was there. And so came back to North Carolina, did consulting for like 6 months, and then I got into Harvard Business School.
Okay. And this is 90.
That was 98.
98. Okay.
Yeah.
So Harvard
So
Business School. And
They
what?
got into Harvard, and so went to Harvard Business School in '99. So that's why we moved to this area.
Yeah. And what was it that you wanted to do?
I wanted to be an investor of some sort, and I didn't fully understand. Like I didn't even know when I got to Harvard Business School. I didn't know what a hedge fund was, right? But I wanted more. I wanted to get an exposure. I got an opportunity when I was actually in a junior in college to come to Harvard Business School for this 1-week program called Summer Venture and Management, where I got exposure to what it's like to be, at a place like Harvard in business school. And I met this guy named Jim Cash, who is just this legendary human, the first black tenured professor at Harvard Business School. And just, I'd never met anybody like him before.
Yeah.
And again, that was one of those interactions that changed my life. I chased this cat down and I was like, hey, teach me.
Yeah.
And he's been in my life, ever since then. And so I think as you hear me talk, you'll see a pattern of, there's been these extraordinary people in my life that have given me wisdom, that have invested in me, that have given me opportunities to learn and grow. And I've sought those kind of people out constantly. But they've been the ones that have sort of, propelled my life.
Yeah. I mean, everyone needs like a mentor figure.
Yeah.
And you get them. Some people have that one person who like throughout their career or whatever, or you're like, I got this guy, I had this guy here, then I had this guy here, but you're still cool with them both.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I've been on this constant, pursuit of wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And how I can learn it. I've had this vision. I knew that I wanted something more for my life, and I didn't know what all of those things, could possibly be. Like I think about even, we were talking about relationships earlier. Like I knew I wanted my marriage to be something great. I didn't have a bunch of examples around me. And so my starting point was like, do the opposite of what my parents did. Let me start there. And then as I got, the opportunity to meet other folks who had 20, 30, 40-year marriages, you start asking them questions like, okay, how do you do this? How do you put in this work? How do you, keep that love strong, through, decades and decades. And then you learn and you grow and you iterate. I try to do that in every aspect of my life.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I feel like that's kind of how, when I was growing up, I always say to people, I would see what I thought life was, and I would just think to myself, I don't want this. Even though I feel like this is what my life is going to be, or I think this is what life is supposed to be, because that's all you know.
Yeah.
I don't want this. I want something different. I didn't know what that something different was. I just knew it wasn't.
It wasn't that.
It wasn't that. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to. I didn't grow up around anybody who had careers. They all had like jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So in my head, I was like, okay, I guess I don't know why everyone resorts to this, but I was like, I guess I'll be a trash guy. Because you're always
got benefits.
Yeah. You always think, I don't want to be in an office. And I guess hanging off back of a truck, being outside is kind of fun or whatever, But that's literally, I would go, I guess I'm going to be a trash guy when I get older. But I don't want to do that. And then eventually I found radio and I found my mentor and stuff, and I started being exposed to things that I was like, oh, whoa, there's a whole different world out there.
Was it for you, did you have to kind of explore through your life experiences, like what you were quote unquote like meant to do? Like you just said, like you were like looking around at your life and you're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want more for myself. Like for me personally, like similar to you, I feel like I've always known what I've wanted to do for as far back as I can remember, that I just don't really accept anything else other than that. What was like that for you? Did you have to find that out, or was it always kind of lingering in the back of your mind? Or is it just the feeling? Were you searching for that feeling?
Yeah, based on my experience, I don't think it works that way. In terms of like the feeling, right? I think that there's a set of capabilities that you have. There's a set of capabilities that you develop based on what you're doing and what you're experiencing. And then there's opportunities that come in front of you that allow you to take advantage of what you're prepared for. And then that leads to the next thing. And if you build on a set of experiences that you have and you keep building on those things, then that develops into an expertise. And then you figure out the best ways to utilize those. I oftentimes think that sometimes we get things stuck in our head. It's like, I'm doing this. And then it's so specific that there's opportunities like coming in front of you, but you have
blinders.
Like, you have blinders on and you ignore those opportunities because you're like, I'm doing it this way.
Right.
And there's things that I thought that I wanted to be a private equity investor. And there's so many different types of investing. And I interviewed for, when I was in business school for all these private equity jobs. And I was like, Lord, like, why am I not, getting, and it was rejection. Oh, you're not the right fit and you're not the right fit. And I got to the point where I was like, what I'm really looking for is somebody who's been extraordinarily successful that's willing to teach me, and in an environment where I can enhance my finance skills, but they also respect for what I bring to the table. Now that, as opposed to being like, I need to work at a private equity fund that's a middle market, investing in infrastructure that's in Chicago. If I got that specific, I would have missed out on the greatest opportunity of my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's the GPS. Have you heard of the GPS theory?
No.
Where it's like, you have your destination, right? Like with GPS, you're driving GPS. You take a wrong turn or there's a detour or something. The GPS doesn't get mad at you. It just goes, all right, recalculating. Yeah, it just reroutes you. So in life, you have whatever it is that you have for your goal. And sometimes things happen in life that throws you off. It reroutes you or whatever. And it's like, instead of being like, oh God, now I'm not going to get there or
Right.
whatever, or getting mad about it, it's just like, all right, GPS theory, baby. I'm just rerouting. Boom.
Yeah. So I have, again, I got these life philosophies. One of them is no one is spared. And so, we all are going to experience death and family member, friends. We're all going to experience, people around us with disease and so forth, like disappointments. Those things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people I've seen just like take that and just hold on to it. And it's like, if I could have just gone down that same road
Yeah.
that I started going down, then I would be X, Y, and Z, as opposed to being masterful at recovering from what is the inevitable. You're going to have these disappointments. You're going to have these setbacks. But if you say, I'm not worried about going down that very specific road, I'm worried about getting to the destination in whatever way is possible. If I need to climb over this fence, if I need to go through a backyard, if I need to, take 3 routes over here and then make a right, I'm going to get there. If like that mentality is a very different mentality, and it's one that alleviates a lot of stress in life, quite frankly.
Yeah. At some point, everybody, like you said, almost has to you almost have to restart in life at some point. Because let's take the tragic things that could happen: divorce, death, losing a job, those things, all major ones. I'll give you a perfect example. Earlier this year, my house got broken into, right? And my wife was thrown off. She's one of the most confident women you'll ever meet in your life, but it threw her off. Like she could not handle it for a while. And I was just like, all right, this sucks. We'll figure it out. And, she's like, I don't want to sleep in our bed. I don't want to do this. And I said, no, we're going to end up sleeping in our bed again. It's not, you're going to get back to it. And then I thought about it and I said to her, I go, do you know why you're reacting this way and I'm reacting this way? It's because, so my wife is 14 years younger than me. And this was probably the first big negative thing that happened to her.
Right.
Whereas myself, at this point, I've had my house broken into twice before this one.
Right.
Divorce. My ex-wife passed away.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So so I said to her, I'm like, this is one of those things in life where it's like, at the time when it happens, you're like, fuck,
Right.
completely thrown off. But then when you experience these things and you go through it, you realize you get back to whatever your baseline is, and
Right.
you keep going further. It's just like a small reroute, as they say.
It is, and it also can be one of those things that does lead to your purpose.
Right.
And so I think about, the things that I saw as a kid, the moving around in all these different places, the despair that I had to endure, the racism that I experienced, in high school, losing a sister to cancer, having seen and experienced those things, it has given me a clarity and an empathy in life about what my purpose is and how, when I need to help others who have lived through and experienced and are seeing those things. And without that understanding, I would be a very different human being.
Right. You almost, I don't want to say need, but you almost need something like that to happen to really, like you said, to figure out your purpose and things of that nature. But
but I also think it depends on your calling. I think some people who want to achieve that level of success or that level of like whatever we want in life, what's that saying? It's like the road to heaven is like hell, but then the road to hell is like heaven or something like that. It's like if you want to achieve a certain level of like, what's the word I'm looking? I'm like drawing a blank right now because everything you said just like clicked. It's like if you want to achieve that certain level of whatever it is, it's not gonna come easy.
No,
It's not gonna come like
No.
on a silver platter for you. Like, here you go. It's like you
Right.
want to achieve that level of peace, clarity, financial abundance, or like whatever it is you want in that life. That's not an easy thing to achieve. So why would the road to getting
Right.
there to be easy? So that when you get there, you can have that confident calmness. Like, I know I'm meant to be here because of what I went through, and I've persevered.
It gives it gives you a sense of gratitude, a bigger sense of gratitude when you.
Yeah.
It
get
does,
certain
but
things.
but I will say the practice of gratitude over anger or resentment is one that you can start at any point in life.
For
Because
what?
for anything.
Mhm.
Like I'm grateful, even though it's cold as it can be. I'm grateful for the sunshine.
Yeah.
And that's a conceptual view, because there are a lot of successful people that have gone through some of the things that you're talking about, and they're angry
Mhm.
and they're bitter and they're going after the people that that wronged them when they weren't successful. Like you can process trauma in a lot of different ways, and so it's not guaranteed that because you've gone through a hard moment that you're like, all right, this is great. That
Yeah.
a lot of people carry that weight,
Oh yeah.
in a significant way.
Mhm.
And trauma's trauma.
Yeah. Do you do any type of journaling or meditation or anything like that?
So, it's interesting. My pastor gave me this daily confession, and most mornings I try to read it every morning, but most mornings, like, it's like the first thing that I read, and it starts off with, today is a good day, for this is the day that the Lord has made, right? And it ends with, I will not lose, for God has given me victory, right? And so, like, before I start scrolling,
Mm.
like that, I'm feeding into my day before my day feeds into me, and like, just those sorts of practices I think are critical when the world will come at you,
Yeah.
and you've got to have some stabilitating, whatever it is that your religion, your whatever practice it is, but having something that gives you sort of a mental foundation, I think is critical.
Yeah. You got to live it with intention, because otherwise, I call it not starting your day like on your back foot. A lot of people do that.
Right.
They kind of get up, the alarm goes off, they hit snooze, the alarm goes off again, they hit snooze, the alarm goes off again, and then get up, and then they're shocked that they're running late. And they're running, and then they get mad because the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through is 9 cars deep, and they're mad at everybody else before they even start their day at work. And it's so funny, like, you'll have that person who basically caused that situation, right? And like, they're not even at work yet, and they're like, my day's ruined.
Right.
My day is ruined.
Right.
And then you'll have someone else going to work, get a flat tire on the way to work, and they're like, all right, cool, I just got to call AAA. I'm going to be a little late for work, and keeps it moving.
Yeah.
It's how you bounce back from stuff. But it's about, I call it, not, if you look at a lot of stuff that people do, it's like they get in their own way with things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you'll be at work and you'll be like, why is this person so lazy? Why is that person whatever? And it's like they're getting in their own way. But you do it yourself, whether it's at work, relationships, the way you start your day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about being introspective and going like, where could I improve in this? Where could I improve in that?
And if that hasn't been your life practice, it's hard, right? Because I know there's some people listening to us right now and been like, look,
Must be nice.
Yeah, right. but like with Wellwithal, as we talk about this wellness journey that we're asking people to join us on, it's like, what is that one small first step that you can take in any of this, right? That, because you are a very disciplined person, right? Like, your martial arts, like you're in shape, like all those things. Um, uh, Everybody doesn't come from that starting point, and so it's like, what is that first step? If you take that first step, and then you can repeat that next step, and like like you were saying earlier, you might stumble, but go back to the next step. Like drink a glass of water first thing in the morning.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
like let's figure that out. Make sure you're eating 3 meals that are reasonable from a caloric intake standpoint. Let's just figure that out. Switch out your sugary soda with this great well-with-all
Yeah.
energy drink, right? Like those small steps, if you can just take those first, then that,
Right.
that left foot goes, and then the right foot goes again, and then the left foot goes, and then all of a sudden you're on a train like you're describing.
Yeah, momentum.
Yeah.
Momentum.
I got a little when you were talking about the journal thing that your pastor gave you. I don't know why when he said that, like everything froze for a second because not exactly what you said, but something similar. One thing that I've noticed in my life personally, that when I feel like I don't know what to do, and I feel like in past moments I used to like get nuts with it and like get angry. Lately, when you leave it up to whoever you believe in, God, the universe, whoever you believe in, that's when I have found the most like clarity and peace, and things work out even better. And that's like something that takes a long time for, like you said, if that's not what you're used to, and you're used to being so hands-on in your life and everything, in those moments when you are genuinely, you don't know what to do, if you just stop and you say, like, God, I don't know what to do right now, but it's better in your hands than mine.
Right.
And then you don't even know how quick or how fast or how things can turn around. So that's a very important
Yeah,
side note you brought up.
Control what you can control, and for me, it's like, and leave the rest to God. Like there's some things that I can control, and I focus maniacally on those things, and the rest I leave to God.
I'll give you another nugget.
Here we go.
No, this is good. When you feel at the absolute lowest of the low, help somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Help someone else. Because it gives you, I don't even know what it is, a clarity or whatever, but it's definitely like it gives you that first step of, okay, wait a minute here. I'm helping someone. That's a good thing.
Yes.
And then, you let
I am
karma.
so philosophically aligned. It's like, just give. Because like there's so many people, even in your lowest low, there's somebody that needs more help than you, right? And it's like, if you can just pour into that, like yeah, you're right. Like the feeling of that is so tremendous, and it's so regrounding. Because people need so much. People are in such need of help right now, and just if you feel like, whoever is listening to this, of like, if you feel like you don't know what to do, just go help somebody.
How do these philosophical ideologies kind of bleed into your brand and what it's all about?
Yeah, so our mission at Well With All is to create generational wellness for all, and so every product that we create is just better for you, right? This energy drink that I'm drinking right now, it's a better caloric profile than the sugary sodas or some of these morning coffees with 17 splashes of whatever you have in it, and those small steps that you can take in life incrementally can make a dramatic difference in the amount of weight that you gain, your ability to just live a longer, healthier life. Also, the things that we're doing, from a philanthropic standpoint, we're creating these wellness toolkits to give people simple information about mental health, heart health, nutrition, that our family has paid a ton of money to help others and ourselves in a way that meets people where they are. From some of the greatest medical experts in the country to allow us to all be on an equal playing field. If you look at, Roxbury versus Back Bay, there's a 23-year life expectancy difference between, those two places. And It's not about the DNA of the folks who live in Roxbury, right? Or North Side versus the South Side of Chicago has a 30-year life expectancy difference. It's about access to information and resources. And so, the reason why we exist is to help people, and we're working to put $300 million into health equity over the next decade. But we're starting with great product that we can all participate in and consuming, and 20% of the profits of everything that we sell go to fueling these efforts.
How do you even start? I don't even know how to ask this question. Like explaining to someone, because I'm a big believer. I'm like, the one thing that you have to be selfish with in life is your own health. You have to, because you'll hear a lot of people say, I have to take care of fill in the blank, my kids, my grandparents, whatever. And I say, that's great. But if you get sick,
then everything falls apart.
Right, exactly. So you need to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. But how do you explain that to someone when, they're just like, I just want to be able to pay the light bill and things like that. I don't have time to get an energy drink or take vitamins or whatever.
Well, that's why we're making it simple, right? This is not some complex, super green. This is a substitute for, one of the highest caloric impacts of the American diet is sugary sodas. Mm-hmm. So you make this one choice to take this versus a sugary soda. That one choice a day is a lot of pounds, over a year that you would gain or not, right? Mm-hmm. And we're coming out with a brand new protein powder, early next year, right? That versus that breakfast sandwich that you might be eating in the morning. Like these little small choices. I'm not asking you to do something. I'm not saying go do Pilates 7 days a week. Yeah. Because for a lot of people, that's not even a choice. But if you can make these small steps, go to the doctor every year, right? Just, try to get up and do some physical activity several days a week. Go walking. I'm not asking you to run a marathon. Just passing that information on is like, you don't have to do a super complex set of things to live a longer, healthier life. The other thing that we've done is we have a movie called Black Longevity. And we're doing special screenings across the country right now. I'll invite you guys to one that we're having in January. Skip Gates is going to host it. It's going to be a really cool event. But this is the story of, 7 incredible people ranging in age from 85 to 106. And they've lived long, healthy lives. So often when you hear, about folks of color and health, it's this thing of despair and diabetes and heart attack and hypertension. But there's a lot of folks that have lived long, healthy lives and coming from a place of inspiration as a place of a place of dread and struggle. Like that's not our only story. Mm-hmm. And so providing these messages, providing this storytelling. Did you guys know that the oldest living human in the United States is a Black woman?
Mm-hmm.
How old did she make it to?
She's 115 right now.
Oh, she's still alive? 115?
Yeah.
All right, challenge accepted, man. I'm telling you, I
get ready.
I'm ready. I go to my doctor, and you know how when they give you the, do you have this in your family? Do you have this? And I said, listen, I have high blood pressure, diabetes. There's some heart issues and stuff, but it's all lifestyle related, because for the most part, the people on both sides of my mother's and father's side, they all last a long time.
Right.
I said, but they because of how they eat and how they live and stuff like that. I said they gave themselves all these conditions. So I want to see what'll happen if somebody who has those genes in them mm-hmm. takes care of themselves.
Yes.
And, avoids getting hit by a car or
yes.
something,
Which is important.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I think I'm still in the age group of, there was a point where my doctor said to me, listen, the only thing do you wear your seatbelt? And I said, yeah. And he goes, do you stare at your phone while you drive? And I said, I don't stare at my phone. I'm not going to lie and say that like I throw it in the back seat, but right. I have it to the side or whatever. Every now and then I'll change the song. And he said, I'm just asking you this because right now, your only risk of death is like instantaneously getting murdered or like a car crash. So
So avoid both of those.
yeah. He goes, the murder thing, somebody might just sneak up and pop pop you in the back of the head. He said, but you can avoid, the car thing. And I'm like, gotcha, noted.
Yeah.
So
Is this the same woman that met Obama? She came to the White House back I think 8 years ago or something like that.
I don't believe so, because before her, the oldest living person in the United States was a black woman.
Wow. So 2 times.
Yeah.
And where are they from?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I'll find out for you.
All right.
Are they highlighted in this film?
Not in this film, no. But the point is that there's a long legacy. Like my Uncle Buddy lived to be 105.
Wow.
Okay.
And I observed like his behavior. He was always active. He was driving until he was 102, mentally super sharp, even at 105, funny as could be. He didn't let a lot of things bother him, right? He worked to figure out, solutions. He was a very giving human being, constantly giving people food from his farm, etc. Just a great, great man. But he had purpose until he was like 102.
Mm-hmm.
He was still gardening. He was still riding lawnmower. He had friends around him, and like all of those things sort of pour into your longevity. And, he ate a reasonable set of meals, didn't drink a lot of alcohol. There are these simple things that he did that allowed him to live a long, healthy, fruitful life.
It's weird because when it comes to overall health, it's like it's not this like profound. It's basically it's easy, but it's not simple to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
just like eat right, keep yourself moving, have a reason to live, purpose. Because what that does, and do it consistently.
Yeah.
And do it consistently. Because what that does, I think a lot of people have the mentality of like, people say like, I just want to hit the lottery so I can sit at the beach all day and do nothing. And it's like, that would last for about a week and a half before
Correct.
you're like, I need something to do.
Correct.
Or at least for myself,
Correct.
But, or a lot of people that have a job and they go, oh, when I retire, I can't wait. So I could just like get up and chill and sit on the couch and watch TV all day. And I'm like, that is, you're deteriorating yourself if you're
Daily.
doing that.
Community is incredibly important, though.
Yeah.
Friendships, is an incredible aspect of this analysis as well. Just like having a community, and
Yep.
that's part of purpose, but having a community, like great people around you that reinforce these behaviors too, but also just like the essential elements of joy. And this was my book, Friends of the Good, that comes out March 31st. Aristotle talked about how, friendship was one of the most essential elements of joy. And he broke down friendships into 3 categories: transactional, you scratch my back, I scratch yours; friends of pleasure, we go out and party and hang out together. But both of those types of friendships are fleeting in nature, because when the transactions and the fun goes away, so do the friendships.
Yeah.
But the third category is friends of the good. And those are friends of valor. People like, we share a commonality in how we view the world. And so like when you meet folks like that, like those are people that you end up being friends, for a lifetime with. And they reinforce your behavior. They reinforce your purpose. They reinforce your circle and help shape it and grow, who you are as a human. Like having those types of people around also add to your longevity.
I cannot stand this new wave of like toxic isolation where it's like you need to be alone and figure stuff out by yourself, in this lone wolf mentality. It's like humans were not designed to be alone. Like in any, I'm not saying you're not going to have moments of isolation. You will, but that is not how you are genetically designed to survive. Like it's quite literally impossible.
Well, back
like
in
you
the
need
day,
community.
Back in the day, being isolated meant death. It's like you had your tribe and you all protected each other from the elements, from predators and stuff like that. And if somebody got isolated from that tribe, it was usually because they were like, we don't want you, go away. Like nobody did it voluntarily.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you were isolated, it's because they basically isolated you to die.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
if you're feeling down, right? One of the greatest things that you can do is bring yourself in the community, and bring yourself with into environments where people are accepting of you and have your back and your interest at heart. That's one of the greatest things that you can do to alleviate those feelings. And I think oftentimes people feel like, all right, I'm feeling crappy, so let me go be by myself, and then it
Right.
accelerates the crappiness of the feeling.
Yeah. Or they'll catastrophize and say like, I don't want to be in a relationship because, and they start picturing like the breakup, or I don't want to make a friend because friends do this, and it's like,
You have no idea.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have no idea.
It also, it's like, yeah, you know what? All those things are possible.
Yeah.
It's you're not immune to that, but
Right.
let's make that make that viewpoint extreme. Why would you leave your house? You might walk outside onto the sidewalk and get hit by a stray bus. It's like you need to. Life is getting out of your comfort zone.
Well, also, I've heard a lot of folks say, I need to get myself right before, I get into a relationship, or
I need to get in shape before I join the gym.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the version of that. Yeah,
But the reality is, I married my wife at 24, and it's the greatest single thing I've ever done. And she's made every phase of my life better. And if I were trying to get myself ready
right.
to get married, I would have missed out on so much joy. I would have made a lot of dumb decisions, and my life wouldn't be nearly as full as it is without having that partner to share it with and to grow with and to make those critical decisions together with. And I again, community in a variety of ways is critical, but that decision of a marriage and lifetime partnership is, it's the single most important decision you can make.
How old are you now?
I'm 52.
Wow. So you guys spent a while
Yeah,
together.
27 years of blissful
That's
marriage.
amazing.
A lot of work.
Yeah, no, of course. No, definitely. Yeah.
It's
a
crazy
lot
to
of work.
think you've been with the wife longer than without wife in your life.
Oh, 1,000%.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. it
How
is.
old are your kids?
So 19 and 17.
1917. Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm 49. I'm gonna be 50 in February. My oldest he just turned 27, and when he turned 22, I was like, "This is so weird." And he said, "What's so weird about 22?" And I said, "I was 22 when I had you. So from this point on, I will be a father longer
Yes.
than not a father in my life."
Right.
Which is, it's just like weird to think about
Right.
that.
That is wild.
It's wild. Yeah. You don't know what it's like to be single. Like, you're like, I've been married longer than I've been single.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. Like, finding the right partner is a critical, because making a bad decision in that area is a disaster. But committing your life to a tremendous human being with great character. And, I think oftentimes people are purely judging on, the external.
Yeah.
Now, I've been blessed that, my wife is fine and she's got extraordinary character, but the character is the critical piece, because the physical stuff over time can easily change.
Yeah.
And if you're stuck with somebody who used to be fine and now they're terrible, and they have a terrible character, like, that's a disaster. And so, like, start with the character, is who you're going to spend your life with and make all the critical financial decisions with and make all the critical life decisions with, and will, rear your kids together. Like, it's an important decision.
Very important. It's probably the most important decision as an adult
Yes.
that you're going to make.
That you're going to make.
Yeah. So before you did well with all, you were working in finance?
Yeah. So I left Harvard Business School and joined Adage Capital. Just as it was spinning out a Harvard management company. which is the entity that runs Harvard's endowment, joined just this this extraordinary group of humans, brilliant investors that had a long-standing track record of success. And this guy Phil Gross hired me to work for him. He's one of the two co-founders of the firm, and I learned under him how to be an investor. You know, like I said, when I entered business school, I didn't even know what a hedge fund was. But I learned from a brilliant investor how to be an investor, and then I brought in, you know, my experiences, my ability to interact with people, my understanding, like living in the environments of danger. It gives you oftentimes the ability to assess character quickly, because you have to, you know, to understand, is this a situation or not?
Right.
And that
And you also sometimes assess it like 3 or 4 steps ahead.
that 1,000%, you
Before
have
it's
to.
crucial. Yeah.
And so what I actually learned is that trauma, right, gave me the ability to actually assess business professionals, right? Because like you're sitting there in these meetings and you're like, this dude has on a suit, but he's just as shady as that cat, you know, from the hood, right? And that was helpful in investing, you know, quite frankly. But also, I applied the same work ethic that I had at the White House to understanding the finance industry, to understand the investment philosophy that was successful. I ran our consumer fund. I did that for 21 years. Became partner super quickly, and we had enormous success, you know, over the 21 years that I was there.
Okay, so do like your Chat GPT, and I'm asking you, like, explain to me like I'm in the 3rd grade, like working for a hedge fund. Is that like you're basically having people come in and say, invest in my business, and pitching you? Like, what does that involve?
Yeah. So and these are all publicly traded companies. So companies that trade on the New York Stock Exchange.
Okay, so it's not just like a guy going.
It's not just a guy. No, these are all large established companies. You know, the WalMarts and Amazons and you know, Macy's and all these different, you know, Lululemons, you know, Under Armour, Nike, all these different public, TJX, which is an extraordinary company. Those are the kind of companies that you're assessing. You have all this data that's available, but you're also meeting, you know, with the CEOs and CFOs of these companies. You're assessing what their long-term trajectory is. You're looking at their financial statements. You're also evaluating, you know, what their long-term plans are, and the value of the business, how it's actually trading versus, you know, all of that data and information.
So besides, you know, profits and losses or whatever, they're saying, okay, this is how much we're making right now. This is how much we're spending to make that money. But because of, I don't even know, I can't even get them. But we just started selling this product that we know is going to be like in 30% of households in the next 5 or 6 years or whatever.
Right.
They're coming to you like that.
Yeah, in some respect, or it could be that you know, we just launched, you know, we just launched a new shoe line.
Yeah.
And we think it's going to be successful, and it's this level of profitability. And then based on your knowledge and understanding of launching shoes, you know that that's a really difficult, you know, process for a company to start, to get the fit right, to get the design right, to get the right, you know, ambassadors to promote it, you know, et cetera. And if you're looking at the numbers that the Wall Street analysts are projecting as being, you know, 300 million more than you think, you might say, that's probably not a good investment. We're being really, simplistic here, but those sorts of things, you're assessing what they're saying versus how the market is valuing that company, if that's correct or not, and if there's long-term opportunity or not.
So a hedge fund is dealing with publicly traded companies, whereas, you know, you might have another investment.
Like a private equity company is investing in private companies. They're typically smaller. Yeah. And they're typically profitable, and growing. A venture capital firm could be like two guys or two women in a garage with a great idea
Yeah.
that are just forming, this business idea, or certainly could be bigger. It could be a technology company, but there's different phases of investment. So starting with sort of seed investors, venture capital, private equity, and then when companies become public, then you have the institutional investors like we were that were investing in those public companies.
What's the most important lesson you've learned about money throughout all this?
The most important lesson: make more than you spend.
Really? Well, no, I mean it seems so like simple. You know what I mean? It's like, but really, that's really like.
No, I think
Yeah.
I think if you boil it down to it, yeah, folks take on a lot of debt,
Yeah.
and get themselves into trouble with liquidity. But you want to live a lifestyle that's more conservative than you're paying for. And if you're in that situation, you have comfort, you have peace, you have less stress. And we've seen a lot of folks, that aren't in that position, and it creates a ripple effect throughout their life. And spending money on things like like I got a 2019 car, right? It's a depreciating asset as soon as it drives off the lot. Why spend a lot of money on that? Why do I need to? I wear an Apple Watch. Like, why do I need to show my wealth in those things? Judge me by how many people I help, as opposed to the stuff.
So what about the people who say, borrow against, have this, and then borrow against it to get this, and then borrow against that to get this, and borrow against that to get this?
I normally don't like those people.
Well, I just don't like. This
Yeah,
is
I'm like, I
why.
don't know
This
what
is
you're
why I need.
talking
This
about.
is. Oh, you've never heard that? Like,
No, I mean I would say to them like, I don't know, what do you mean borrow from this?
so
borrow from that?
it's like buy a building, right, and then take money out of that building that you have, like what's it called, like equity, and buy another building, and then take some equity from that and buy another building. So you have, in theory, you have 3 pieces of property, but you have a shit ton of debt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And because I didn't go to college, I don't know what the right. I mean, the spend less than you have sounds
What?
like it makes sense to me. It sounds so
And that-
basic, but
Yeah, look, we can't cover full financial theory in a this small amount of a time, but that's why I gave you a really simplistic something that folks can sort of hold on to. The other thing I would just say is, like, don't invest in things you don't truly and fully understand. Period.
okay.
Right. And so, a scenario like what you're describing, if you have variable interest rates, on those properties, and we went through what we just went through in terms of interest rates, rising dramatically, you could be in a lot of trouble right now.
Yeah.
And so only invest in things that you actually fully understand. If you do that, you keep yourself, in great perspective. If you look at some of the greatest wealth generating individuals, in sports leagues, et cetera, there's a statistic of something like, 60% of NFL players are bankrupt after like 5 years of leaving the league.
Yeah.
And folks are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. The stats are similar in the NBA as well. And the lack of financial advice that's been given, the number of people that when you start making a few dollars relative to the rest of your family, there's also this obligation, right, that you feel to help as many people as possible. And do these things, and like, but that money, the train ends at some point,
Right.
and if you're not spending less than what you're making, then you put yourself in a position, of risk. And so that's why that's the most simplistic, viable advice that I can give you that you can apply to any situation.
Whatever. From now on, I'm just gonna text you and ask. I'll be like, explain this to me, Demond. No, it's funny because Odell Beckham Jr., football player, was just on a podcast, and people are giving him shit because he said, a lot of people think $100 million is a lot of money, but you can't make that last a lifetime. And then he tried to justify it by going, well, $100 million over 5 years is really $20 million a year. But when you take taxes out, now we're looking at it more like $8 or $9 million a year. And I need to buy my mom a house, and I need to buy a car, and I need to buy this. So if you're spending $4 million a year, that's really $20 million after 5 years. He tried to like mathematically explain how $100 million cannot last you a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, everybody wants to buy their mom a house.
Right.
They do. But do you really need to buy your mother a 6-bedroom, 7-bathroom mansion?
Right.
Like my mother's old school. The first thing she does when she walks in a big house is she goes, "How do you clean all this?" You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Do you need to buy a new car every couple of months?
Said another way, you can spend $100 million, and most people that make $100 million don't think that you can spend $100 million, but you can.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
So when you started your company, do you feel like you had a leg up then? Did you search for investors in the beginning, or was this something you kind of took on a solo mission?
We had the ability to
because you have a great network.
Thank you. I agree. We have some incredible people that have just been extraordinary friends for a long time that happen to also be brilliant humans in our flow. But one, you would never want to take on something of this magnitude by yourself. You want other smart people to challenge your thought process, to give you advice, to have a vested interest in the growth and success, of an enterprise like this. And so we took on funding the initial stages of it to make sure that we had the ability to tell a cohesive story and have the right plan. But then our very first investor was Ken Chenault, the legendary CEO of American Express, and just an incredible human. And then very quickly on, folks like Jeremy Sklar and David Fialco and Larry Fitzgerald Jr. and others came in to be, and many of my mentors that we've already talked about, like Erskine Bowles and Phil Gross and others, David Grain, just incredible humans that made the process better. Because they brought their knowledge. And have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Let me introduce you to this person, and it just made the growth of the enterprise, more successful.
How do you convince them? Because like a supplement company doesn't exactly scream like moneymaker. How do you convince them to invest initially in the company?
Yeah, so we're not just a supplement company. So we're a health and wellness consumer products company. We started with supplements because one of the people that was with us from the very beginning, one of my business partners, is a former CEO of GNC.
Oh, okay.
And so that was a really easy supply chain for us to start with. And then we did a partnership to launch the energy drink. And now we're going into other categories. So we're looking for these categories that make a difference in people's lives. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs, not everybody, but most people need some caffeine in the morning and the afternoon. So this is a great way to be a substitute for sugary sodas and other, things that people are drinking that aren't, that don't have the characteristics and qualities of our products, and make those small steps in people's lives. But the market size, we're talking about a 6 trillion, global wellness, market that exists. And and none of these companies, there wasn't a single Black-owned health and wellness company of scale that existed when we launched Wellwithal, right? And so, you know, the spending power of Black folks is over $1 trillion. The spending power of folks in the Hispanic community is over $1 trillion of spending power. So if we think about, you know, and those folks are not being talked to with regularity in the health and wellness area. Health, you know, hair care, yes.
Yeah.
Health and wellness, no, right? And so nobody's doing what we're doing at scale. And so the opportunity from an economic standpoint to all of these investors was a no-brainer, actually.
Yeah.
And in the supplements market, actually, you know, the profitability of those categories are quite nice. So the dynamics of our ability to make a massive change in terms of helping and adding where there's not enough philanthropic dollars or not enough tax dollars that exist to actually address these health equity issues. And so capitalism had to be a mechanism to do so. And the market size that we're going after and the value that we'll create as a result of doing that was quite attractive to every one of our investors. Like this isn't charity. Like this is something that folks are like, oh, okay, this has a double impact, you know, in our ability to really, you know, drive something special.
I just got 2 fantastic ideas.
All right, what we got?
Do I have the floor to pitch them?
You got, like, you're controlling the microphone.
He was like, you can turn it off.
You can pitch it all you want.
You know what I'm saying?
He might let it be a wild pitch.
Turn the mic up. Turn the mic up.
All right, 2 people came to mind.
Okay.
First, I'll start small, then we'll build up. First person that came to mind that I think if you ever did some sort of marketing campaign, I don't know in what specific product, but this person, I think they could have a resurgence because they used to be really big back in the day, and they're in this field, and I think with the proper marketing, with the proper distribution, it could boom again.
Okay.
Get someone like Billy Blanks. Do you remember him
Billy
back in the day with the home
that's my
videos?
dude, Billy Blanks,
Yeah.
Ty Bo.
Something like that. You
Yo.
know, the cool commercial and one of your products, and he like actually stands by it because he believes it is like a healthy thing.
Can I, before you say the next person, can I tell a Billy? So a lot of people think of Billy Blanks. They think Ty Bo, and they're like, oh, he's just teaching like housewives how to like punch in the air and kick and stuff. Billy Blanks was a badass. Like he was a fighter. Like he would do martial arts tournaments. I used to train with a guy doing Jeet Kune Do, and he would go to tournaments where Billy Blanks was, and he would go in there and wreck everybody.
Really?
Yeah. So he said he would do this thing. He'd go in and he'd have you know how there's like wrist weights and ankle weights and stuff like that?
Right.
He'd go in just wrist weights and ankle weights, right? Take them off. They were going to start the fight, and he would start doing this thing. He said, one time I saw him, and he goes, he's doing this weird, waving his hands like this, you know? And the guy is across from him just looking, and the referee's just like watching him, and he was just kind of like, all right, fight. He said, Billy did a somersault and landed his legs on the guy. Literally just like was standing over the guy, just walked away. Knockout. So he was like
Mortal Kombat stuff.
yeah,
Exactly.
literally. He was like a
Full on.
cartoon. So he then after doing that, he did the like Ty Bo is what kind of made him mainstream.
Yeah.
But that's what a lot of people think he is. But he was like, I mean, you saw him when you saw him doing Ty Bo. You're like, this was like he's built like a damn freaking soldier. You know what I'm saying?
So based on that story, even if I disagreed with this recommendation, I would not disparage Billy Blanks.
Billy Blanks, if you end up finding this clip, man, hit him up because there might be something
did
there.
a somersault and landed
Well,
on a
'cause
man.
Do you remember back in the day, like his whole thing was like
Bro,
getting
I
people in
had-
shape at home, like, you know?
I had Billy Blank's Ty Bo videos.
Yeah, like,
I
you know
was
what I mean?
Kicking and punching.
That'd be
yeah.
a cool research because I think a certain demographic and age group, they're like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I remember this guy. Oh, what's that drink he likes? Oh, I'm gonna pick some up.
Okay.
All right, him. Now we're shooting real high because I don't know why she hasn't hit you up yet. Oprah. Isn't her whole thing wellness and health and being and spirituality? Get this brand on Oprah's favorite things because what the heck is going on?
I think that's if you're doing part of the voting, let's get that happening.
I'm just saying. Oh, Oprah, what are you doing? Come on, what are you doing? Those are my two ideas.
Oprah's an incredible human being.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of spending a little bit of time with her at an event that we both got honored at, and man, what, like, you talk about impact
Oh yeah.
and what she's been able to do as a business person, but also as a philanthropist. Hats off to her.
Absolutely.
So what made you, if you're succeeding in finances, what made you start Well With All in the first place?
So, look, 5 years ago, I was standing in the middle of an emergency room with someone I love, and they were dealing with depression, anxiety, and was suicidal. And, during the worst moments of that, and we had like 3.5 years of our heart being ripped out, every day, dealing with this. And in the worst moments of it, I had this realization, because I wasn't sleeping anyway, that I was now on the other side of inequity, where
What do you mean by that?
I grew up in poverty, but now I had all these resources to help this person that I love in every way possible. I know every CEO of every major hospital here. We had the financial resources to be helpful and get all the treatment and the doctors and the medicine. And I had this moment where I was like, at 14, I was living in a trailer in rural North Carolina. This exact same thing happens to me, I'm dead or in jail. Like, those are my two options. And so many people are in that exact same situation right now. And that's where the spark of the idea for Well With All came from, is like, how do you do something that's significant and sustainable, that's not out begging for $1 million every year from someone else, but using capitalistic enterprise to create an economic engine that every year, from selling great products, 20% of those profits go into impacting, these issues that we've described. I mean, that's what Well With All is. So we find these great areas that people need, like energy, right? Like protein, like, supplements, like, these are all things that millions and millions of people are consuming every day. But most of the dollars just go to, fattening somebody's bottom line. Self-interest is essential, but selfishness is not. So if we take 20% of everything that we sell, the profits from that, and use that to help in this fight for health equity, then, we're going to do something special.
What type of programs are you doing with that money?
So we launched, the philanthropic efforts a year before we sold a single thing. So we were out at the Demick Center, brought in some of the great doctors that we were talking about, started programs around heart health, mental health, maternal health, stood up a program to train the youth called the Heal Academy, where those folks, young people, became ambassadors within their community to help grandma and uncle and aunt around these issues that we've discussed today. What is super scalable that we're working on right now are these wellness toolkits. So like we did a conference at the Harvard School of Public Health where we brought in some of the greatest health influencers that exist. Like, so much information is flying around and it's not scientifically backed. So
Who'd you bring in?
So, you ever heard of Keir?
Keir?
Yeah, he is this incredible counselor, and he gives advice on like marriage, fatherhood, all of these mental health issues that people are dealing with on a daily basis. Like, look this brother.
What's his?
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
I love
man.
following people on.
And Destiny. So these folks, we are providing great mental health, nutrition, health content, as well as things like how do you prepare to go to the doctor?
Yeah.
Like, what are the things that what are the questions that you should be asking, or what are the things that you should prepare for, so that you can tell the doctor, so that if your doctor visit is only 15 minutes, how do you make sure that you get all of the things that you need out of that?
Yeah.
Also, we've got a toolkit on, like, is this just a phase for my teenager, or are they dealing with anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
Suicidality, et cetera? These are all things that we wish that we knew. As parents, as I talk to all my friends, et cetera, we've developed this content using some of the greatest doctors in the country, and there's a great distribution mechanism that we're gonna get this across the country to get people information that they need without spending the amount of dollars that our friends and family have had to.
Have you heard? They've been doing a lot of studies on depression, mental health, and things of that nature, and they're starting to find out that a lot of it is gut related. So, like, outside of all, obviously, the external,
Sure,
things that we're being exposed to, also what we're consuming. A lot of the crap food and the processed foods are messing with our gut, which is in turn messing with our brain, which is in turn, keeping people depressed and things of that nature.
Well, look, what I know for sure is that a lack of solid nutrition, whether you're not eating meals, or can affect mood, behavior, et cetera. A lack of hydration, can do the same. Which is why we're doing many of the things that we're doing. One more thing I think is worth mentioning. You're getting sort of a sneak peek here, but in January, we'll announce, nationwide at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, we're launching something called the Wellwithal Prize, and it's $1 million of prize money for AI interventions that close health equity gaps, and so we're looking for, these technologies may be used to, do different, business innovations and so forth. We'd like them to be pointed to directing and closing some of these health equity gaps that exist, in our country. So again, very clear demonstrations that we're not, looking for effort. We're looking for actual impact and results in, how we're spending these dollars to help society.
Can I recommend one thing too?
Sure.
Just like Moose was recommending earlier.
Yeah, come on.
When you were talking about how to prepare to go to your doctors, for your appointment. Also, I think a lot of people don't process what's being told to them by their doctor in the right way.
Correct.
So, for example, years ago, I had a friend who, his diet, literally, every time I saw him, he had a cigarette and he had a thing of coffee, like one of those big ass things of coffee every day, big gut, and I used to joke with him in a serious way and say, "You're literally the unhealthiest person I know." You might not be the most unhealthy in America, but you're the unhealthiest person I know.
I know.
And at the time, I think Oprah, one of those talk shows was having like it might have been Dr. Phil, looking for the unhealthiest person so we can help him out. And I kept on saying, you need to apply to this. You were the unhealthy. No, what are you talking about? I just went to my doctor and he said I was fine. And I said, there is no way in hell that your doctor said you were fine.
Right.
I said, without even taking any type of blood or anything like that, I go, the second you walked in the room, me and him were very good friends. Right. That's why I could talk to him like this. I said, there's no way. The second you walked in the room, there's no way that he was thinking, this guy's fine. He was thinking, let me figure out what's wrong with this guy so I can help him. He said, no, he's fine. I said, what did he say to you? He said, I didn't have diabetes. He said, I didn't have this. I didn't have that. And I said, but did he say anything to the effect of,
you're pre-diabetic?
If you keep going down this track, you're gonna get diabetes or you're gonna get this? And he said, no, he didn't say that. I go, I'm sure he did, but all you heard was you don't have it now.
Yes.
Because a lot of people right now, their mentality is, I'll live life, right, up until about 40. And then at 40, whatever medications my doctor puts me on, I'll take that, and as I go through life, whatever medications my doctor puts me on for the side effects of that first medication, I'll take that. And then whatever my doctor puts me on, they just think that that's what life is supposed to be.
Right.
So again, when they go to the doctor and hear hey, listen, you don't have anything right now, but you should probably fix yourself because of this. All they hear is, I don't have anything right now. I'm good. I could just keep living the life I want. So that's what I mean with like, really listen to what your doctor's saying. Even if they say you're good, be like, well, okay, but if you had to tell me to improve in something, what would it be?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Well, and one of the things that we actually in that toolkit suggests is that you have somebody come to the doctor with you.
Oh, that's
or
good.
even list, like, particularly, for when my mom goes to the doctor, either my wife or I, oftentimes, if we can't be there, we'll listen in, on the conversation so that we can just sort of reiterate, if needed, hey, here's what I heard. Because sometimes being in those environments can be so overwhelming that you miss some of these critical things, or you could be in shock, particularly if you get some bad news. Like, how do you respond to it? Like, and the doctors typically do a good job of, in your patient gateway, like putting that information in there, like going back and checking that and understanding like what exactly were the recommendations.
Yeah.
But oftentimes we just kind of miss those things,
Miss or
misinterpret.
Misinterpret, or even, they're like, hey, listen, your cholesterol level's high or whatever, and you think to yourself, I really need to fix that. But you keep doing the same habits.
Or you don't take the medication that the doctor offers.
Yeah. And then you're like, I don't understand why I'm not getting better.
Right.
I don't understand why this thing that I'm not working on at all is getting worse or not improving.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah. I have a lot of experience with friends like that. And sometimes I get a little preachy. I do. I'm like, you gotta fix yourself, dude.
Keep preaching. I saw a friend, and I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he had gained a ton of weight, and I didn't say anything because I hadn't seen him in a long time.
Yeah.
And several months later, he had a heart attack, and so I have just made a pact for people that I love. I'm just telling them the truth, and out of love, not in a snarky way, but I'm like, hey, there's these weight loss drugs. There's these opportunities because you have so much weight on you that you're putting pressure on your heart, and there's a change that you can make that actually will again help you live a longer, healthier life. There's things that you can do to take these small, simple steps to just walk every day, and without being preachy, but sometimes I am being preachy because I care about them living. I'm directly saying to them, I'm afraid for your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I argue with my sister all the time. She is the exact opposite of me. Like some people might say extreme, but whatever.
Yeah.
But, and she'll always joke and she goes, you do everything you can to take care of yourself. You exercise, you eat all that good food. I'll probably outlive you anyway. And I said, you might outlive me, but from now until whenever it is that I pass away, let's say if I die at 75, I'm going to be chilling. I'm going to be, I don't know, I might take up surfing, something like that. I said, you're going to be in and out of the damn doctor's appointments, getting medication for this, getting medication for that, getting surgery for this, getting surgery for that. The lifestyle is going to be completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. Put years into your life.
Absolutely.
And life into your years.
100%. 100%. All right. Is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have?
How, can the two of you be on this journey? Well, with all,
Dude, just.
Oh, I thought you pointed at me. I was like, damn. He was like, you should be talking to me. So you got to talk to him.
What do you need? No, what's funny is when you gave us a couple of samples of the drinks.
Yeah.
And I remember drinking them and thinking, this is the first time that I actually feel a boost of energy as I'm drinking an energy drink. Now I'm also not necessarily energy drink guy, but for a while I was.
Yeah.
But then I just heard a lot of them weren't that healthy and stuff like that. But even when I did them, I was like, I would not feel I would be longer without feeling tired, I guess.
Right.
But I didn't feel like an actual kind of little burst of energy initially. With yours, I remember taking it and I was telling the show, I'm like, damn, I actually feel the energy from this drink. And I was like looking, I'm like, what's different from this than everything else? So anyway, I do like your product, but
I
no,
appreciate
seriously, like whatever, because we are on the same page when it
Yeah.
comes to that.
1000%.
You know,
Well, I need y'all because we want everybody that's listening in, that's in this state, that's in the area, in New England, across the country, to know we're here to make a difference. We got great product and we're changing lives at the same time. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the platform. Appreciate the love.
100%. I believe that, everybody, like I said, needs to be, I guess the word is selfish with your health, but it's also whatever your starting point is right now, you might be thinking, Jesus Christ, it's too much. But, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's the same as if you say to somebody, about running a marathon, and they'll say, I can't run a marathon. And my response is, yeah, you probably can't run one tomorrow,
Yeah.
but can you give me a mile tomorrow? Not even running. Can you walk a mile tomorrow?
Right.
No, I can't. Okay. Can you walk for 20 minutes? No, I can't. Okay. How long can you walk for?
Right.
Can you give me 10 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Go out and walk for 10 minutes.
Great.
And then eventually, maybe not the next day, maybe not a week later, maybe a month later, you'll go, you know what, I'm going to try and walk 12 minutes today. I said, it's just a slow, and it's a lifetime process. There is no finish line with it. So it's not like I got to lose weight for the wedding. I got to do this for this. It's figure out what it is that you can do.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a challenge, but that you can maintain doing. And after a while, you kind of push the goalpost a little more
1000%.
and try and add a little bit more and a little bit more. And I think Well With All is a great way to start.
Thank you, brother.
So now I'm going to ask you a random question.
All right.
If you could time travel to the past or to the future, you can't affect the event. You can just witness it. Which way do you want to go? What do you want to see?
It doesn't have to be anything personal either. It could just be like a historic event as well, or it could be something personal.
I'm going back to see the real story of how the pyramids were made. The real story of how the pyramids were made.
And I'm going to the moon landing.
You're going to the moon landing.
I want to be in Florida or Texas or wherever that ship went. I want to actually see it go.
I want to be at the game where Michael Jordan had the flu.
Ooh.
What game was that?
The flu game against the Utah Jazz. Finals.
Why?
Sitting courtside. I mean, it was just one of those unbelievable, out of your mind games, and it was poetry in motion to see it on TV, but to be there live, to see that. And that was the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that I want to see, but that's
Also, you're 20, so you were post Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know who to compare Michael Jordan to now.
You can't. It's Michael Jordan.
What? Yeah, and the flu game. Sometimes people hear that and they're like, "Oh, so he had the sniffles," and it's like, no. Like, think about.
I think I've seen like TikToks and videos of.
Yeah,
Is
like,
the one where he's sitting there, he's just dripping sweat, and he's like
he
this.
is-
Yeah.
Like you could, sometimes you see someone who's sick and you're like, "Oh my god, I can feel how sick they
Yeah.
are by looking at them." It was
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah.
and he still went out there.
I think I've seen clips
Yeah.
of it, but I never saw the full game. But that'd be,
I mean,
that'd
that's
be cool.
that's a dope. Like, I'm a big basketball fan. Well, we're playing the Lakers tonight. Looking forward to the Lakers losing. But to see what these incredible people put into, like, Kobe is like my all-time favorite. I actually grew up in Inglewood part of my life, so I saw on TV. Never got a chance to actually go into the Forum at that point, but Magic and Worthy and Kareem, so sort of grew up with that, and became a Celtics fan when I moved here and got tickets and like saw Paul Pierce and that incredible team win a championship. It just like it was seeing Paul Pierce and LeBron battle each other was really extraordinary, during those years. I love what the NBA has done and the excitement that it creates. There's nothing like going to those games.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but to see Michael,
Hell yeah.
do what he did, it
Yeah.
was incredible to watch.
He was, when you're a hardcore sports fan, no matter how good another athlete is from another team, you have this like, fuck you, you suck type of attitude. Michael Jordan he transcended that.
He transcended that.
No, people were like, yo, Michael Jordan, I don't care. I don't
Right.
care. I don't care. I want to see Michael Jordan come here and score 50 on us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the other players would just be like, you know what? That was
Yeah.
dope.
They call him Black Jesus. Think of
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah.
The other basketball players.
You don't have to convince me. I know. I'm on the same
Well,
page
just in
as
case you might be a LeBron guy.
No,
Like my
no.
son's a LeBron guy, and I'm like, okay. I said, if you took away the names and just put down the stats and said, whose career would you rather have? I'm like, I'd probably say I want LeBron. I want the longevity, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you said Michael versus LeBron for a game, who would you rather have on your team or whatever? I'm like, I'm taking Michael Jordan all day.
The impact that he had on the game. I mean,
Yeah.
the way he changed the game. I mean, there's been nobody like it.
No.
He was a killer. LeBron's. I'm not gonna take anything away from
Yeah,
LeBron, but
1000%.
but LeBron's missing a small attribute, or no, I'm not saying he's missing it. There's an attribute of like, I'm not gonna lose, that a lot of the greats have. Michael Jordan's, his cup of it. Other people's is like this. Some people are like this. LeBron's might be like this. Michael Jordan's was overflowing.
Yeah.
Like if he decided that they weren't gonna lose, it didn't matter what
And
you were.
for me, Kobe was the closest to that.
Yes.
Which is why, like, from his mentality, right? Like, I think about business in the way that a lot of the things that he described about basketball and his
Yeah.
preparation and discipline, I've applied to my life from a business perspective, right?
Yeah.
So like I identify closest to him, as a thinker, and I love to watch Kobe. Like seeing him play,
Yeah.
was also just extra. Like I didn't have enough money to see Michael Jordan play.
Yeah.
But by the time Kobe had come along, I could start going to games, and to watch him, in person was just like you knew he could be down 9 points and there's like 30 seconds left, and the crowd was still afraid that he was going to do something miraculous.
I appreciated him more when I started seeing some interviews and he started talking about his mentality and his
Mamba
mindset.
mentality.
Yeah, and he even talked about when he was young, though. He said when he was 11 or 12, he said there was one season where he goes, I didn't score a point playing basketball that entire season, but it's because he was working on other things.
Right.
And he was watching other players, like at that age, you start seeing like, okay, this guy's awesome. I'm awesome, whatever. And he said, I would study these other players and I'd figure out, okay, this guy's running purely on talent, but year after year after year, he's not improving anything else on himself. This guy, he's smart, but physically he's a little incapable here or whatever. And he would always work on his weaknesses. He'd pick like one thing and work on it for an entire season. So if it meant not scoring points for an entire season, that's fine, because he was like, I'm thinking about what it's going to be like when 16 or 17
Right.
against these guys,
Right.
as opposed to like
He
12,
was just
13,
he was
14.
built different. He was just built
yeah.
different.
Yeah. After I saw those interviews, I'm like, damn. Because watching him play, there are times that I'm like, Kobe, I didn't have that Michael thing. I was like, I wanted them to beat Kobe. I wanted them to beat Kobe.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, I was like, I don't care if it's Jordan. I wanted to see Jordan score 90. I don't care if it's game 7 of the finals. I wanted to destroy everybody. But all right. Anyway, Demond, thank you for coming in.